What's up? Today I'm reviewing Fiendish by Irene Skriklowski. And if you're curious at all about the book, I'm just going to tell you now, go ahead and buy it because I'm giving it a good review. And I'm also going to go through and spoil it all. So on to the review. So backing it through the Indiegogo campaign, I got these cards as an additional extra. So I don't know if you'll get them if you buy them through her website, but they're just little basic cards, but it's pretty cool. It's nice to get those little extra things in a campaign. This thing came with it also. Maybe this way. I don't know. Maybe this way. It's the map of the world of her story. And on to the book. So we got it here. It has a spot gloss that is maybe a little bit difficult to see, but it is there. Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, right there. Just take my word for it. You could kind of see it better in real life. It came with a front, has a spine, looks like that, and even back to it. So, like I was saying earlier, the overall it was pretty great. I definitely like it. I would recommend it. There's just very little criticisms that I'm going to point along the way here. But as far as art and story and character and everything, that's pretty much top notch. I don't think I can really say anything bad about it if I tried. It just all works really well, and I enjoyed the characters and the journey and everything. The only thing is I feel like it was just too short. You'll really only get kind of 2 scenes in general. So just kind of the beginning where they're looking for someone and then a fight scene and then it's over. And most of the indie books are pretty short. So, I understand that part. Wanting more is not a bad thing, but 2 scenes also seems man, I really feel like this was just starting and now it's already over. But, for whatever I paid, $20 or $25, I can't really complain about that either, because the art is just awesome and it's really well told. The world building is probably my favorite thing of hers so far, because I've heard her talk about it before, I think, on some streams, that she really likes world building, and you could definitely see in this because there's just lots of lore behind little things that she says, and the way characters might talk about something, or there's a character I think she mentions their race, which I don't know, I think it says what she is somewhere back here, Dave or something, and I'm just oh, that's cool, I want to know more. Yeah, Dave. So if she ever came out with a book or maybe more information in the back about things would be cool, because when I was reading the story and she says, one of the characters says, oh, that's a Dave. I was well, I don't know what the fuck that is. What's a Dave? And then eventually later when I read some of this back stuff, I saw, oh, it's a race of people. I think. I'm still not sure. Maybe Daive is some type of fantasy thing, maybe elf or dwarf or something that I don't really know about, or maybe she made it up herself. I'm not really sure, but some things like that in the back would be cool eventually. All right, so the biggest criticism I'm going to say here is everything with dialogue and the word bubbles, all of it. I think it needs a stronger editor on that, if there even was an editor at all. I'll try to use a magnifying glass a little bit here, but I don't think it really matters, because I'll just kind of say what I'll read what they're saying. But so the main character, Casimir, he, his town's being ransacked, it's caught on fire, and he wakes up and he's just like coughing, and he's like, did I fall asleep? I don't know. It's very clunky to me, the way he says that. It almost reads like he's on Jeopardy and he's saying like, did I fall asleep? I don't know. Maybe where am I? What happened? It's odd to think, did I fall asleep if you wake up like covered in blood in your brother's arm and your town is on fire? That's not the worst. I mean, I could give it a pass because maybe a kid might say that, did I fall asleep? But I don't know. It still might be like, I don't know. Did I fall asleep? I don't know. Normally I would fall asleep in like my bed. So if I woke up in a different place, I'd just be more like, what's going on? All this is really great. This is kind of the cold opening here. This would be the other criticism I would have with like the lettering aspect. So here if she is doing the lettering, these people are far away, so she made their font very small. And I don't think it works like that. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe she's like setting, like this will be how the world and the font works. But to me, I always feel like, this is your standard indoor voice, is this level of font. So this guy's speaking at this level. So if someone kind of screams, you make it larger, the font. And if someone's whispering, then you make it smaller. So that's how I would know the difference. Like, this is indoor voice, so anything bigger would be considered a scream. And then anything smaller is like whisper. But she doesn't do that. Instead, we get very tiny lettering. Like, it's very, very tiny. As you could see, I'm like really trying to zoom in, and and these people are also yelling. So they're like, Lars, where are you? Where are you? And I don't feel like they're yelling, because I just never really, like, small font to me is whisper in comics. It's also really weird when you see it both on the same panel. Like, this guy's supposed to be yelling, which isn't much bigger than normal speaking voice. I feel like this should be bigger. And then this is like, it'd be hard to get them both in the same thing, but like this person, when you look at it on the same panel, like this font is like much like smaller than this, and it's kind of weird. I'm like, this should just be normal speaking level. I don't like to have to like bring the book closer to me to kind of be like, why'd this get all small? But this was the other thing, is it never really changes too much, the lettering. Like, this guy's screaming hello, and it's kind of just looks like everything else. Like, nothing ever really gets bigger or smaller, or like it's all kind of about the same level. Whereas, something like this book here, I mean, even this page, you could see like this person screaming. So we got like, normal speaking voice, and then do it. They're kind of like screaming it. Same thing with this page that I marked here. Here's an example. Has just a lot of varied like sound effects and stuff, and like lettering. So, this is all italicized and different looking. This gets huge. It's bursting out of the bubble. Then we got just that May part is kind of bold. Normal speaking. This is kind of exploding. There's just like a lot of variations and things happening. That's different, like type of looking bubble. So when I go back over to hers, like we see that everything is basically, there's no variation in this whatsoever. Very little variation in bubble shapes and size of font. This is my biggest criticism of the book. Like, this is what needs to be worked on the most. That and like the dialogue itself, and also things like these. Like, there's lots of ellipses. Like, everywhere is just like ellipses. Here's more ellipses before he talks, ellipses in between talking. I don't know why there's so much ellipses. I feel like you don't need it that often and that much. And sometimes there's 3 dots, sometimes there's 4 dots, sometimes there's 2. Ellipses has 3 dots. Also, when people are being cut off in the middle of a sentence, there might just be 1 hyphen here. And I don't think that works. I think it's supposed to be like how she... is that 2? Yeah, I don't know. I can't really tell right here. Yeah, there's 2 dashes here. So someone being cut off is 2 dashes. 1 dash is a hyphen, so in case the word goes across onto another line. So also he's saying, do you see something? And then he's like cutting his own self off, and he's still speaking at normal voice. Like, what is that? Like, I don't know. It should be like, do you see something? And then he screams like, ah. So he like cut himself off. Or do you see something? And then he's like, interrupts him. Like, I don't know why these characters are always never like finishing what they're saying. There's also things like this where he's like, what is it? And then the panel before, he's saying, what is it? So often characters will kind of like say the same things like that over and over, like the same phrasing or like the same type of word. There's another example of that somewhere around here. Yeah, and then here's like another thing here that is kind of weird. He's Casimir's down here saying, he's like, and I'll just read the stupid thing. He's like, but tomorrow in the daytime I'll look into it more. So he responds with, are you going to track it? But it's been snowing. I don't know. It's kind of weird how he's like answering something that's not really... I don't think you need but. Like, are you going to track it? It's been snowing. But, I don't know, are you going to track it? But it's been snowing. Like, he never brought that up. So he just, like, brings up this new topic. Like, also here is the ground is already mostly covered. So, you need more, like, word conciseness, if that's probably not a word. But, like, already and mostly are adverbs. So to say the ground is already mostly covered is kind of pointless. The ground is already covered. The ground is mostly covered. The ground is already mostly covered. I don't know. I mean, the argument could be he's a kid. But I feel like I kind of saw this throughout the book. So, yeah. So, like, word, like, well, what's the word for it? Like, not concise, but kind of like, boil it down and be like more direct to where you're not including all these extra words for no reason. Like, here's another example where he says, you see what it can do after all? And then he says, I hang around you after all. Like, why are they both saying after all so much? It's like, you don't want to do that. Like, use the same words over and over. Like, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Like, it just, I don't know, kind of sounds stupid. So we get to the town here. That was a great establishing shot here. Though I thought maybe this transition could have been worked on a little bit better, because they did bring a body back to town, and then like the scene is over, and when we get to town, I don't know, I would have liked to maybe have seen something in the town, because then when we go to the next day, they're already gone. So, I mean, it was probably, a matter of page count and stuff, but it seemed a little rushed, because I was like, okay, we're getting to a new location. Okay, we've already left. And not only are we already leaving, but like now we're getting another like splash page establishing shot, like, within 3 pages. But it looks great, so I can't really complain about that. They're looking for, that animal or whatever that killed that guy. So he starts to look for the trees and different clues. And yeah, everything's just pretty great after all this. I would say I don't think I really get on the edge of my seat too much in comics, but this one I was. She does an action scene here that I really appreciated, because I feel like sometimes when I read comics and they go to action scenes, it almost feels more like a montage or just random punches, and it's just kind of like bam, pow, zing. It was like, all right, whatever, that's cool, but like I never really get a sense of an actual scene. But this was an actual scene, like from beginning to end, where you could follow where each character was spatially, which I appreciated. And just the order of events are clear, like everything that's happening. It wasn't just like an action scene that was like random punches on the page to like look cool. Yeah, sometimes like she included some extra stuff here that I don't think you need. Like he's kind of thinking like, oh, what's making the sound? That's coming from the woods. It's too quiet. Something's wrong. And then he just says, get. Okay, get. And then the next page, he doesn't like finish that. It's just get. I don't think you needed this at all. Sometimes less is better. Like I think it works. Like if you remove this and you kind of can let his expression kind of let us know what's happening. Like something's wrong, and we're left with like, oh, gasp, and then like jump to this action scene. Like once you throw that in, I kind of thought it messed up like the little bit of pace there. Yeah, I had some other examples, but like sometimes with these word bubbles, you want like a triangle shape, and sometimes they're like very oddly shaped. Like, yeah, like this one, this okay, we will is just it's bizarre looking. Like the space is always different between like all the bubbles and stuff. You want like a consistent like spacing throughout, and there it's just kind of always changing. Maybe that's like a manga thing, but I don't know. Even sometimes like the actual font seems like it gets smaller and bigger, and I'm not talking about this because this is obviously like intentional, but just in between like talking, I'm like, it's getting bigger and smaller constantly. And just also just people like talking louder in general could just be like, I don't know, emphasized. Sometimes the emphasis is weird. It's also on like an odd part of the word, not really like the noun. It'll just be on like the or something. I'm like, okay. Creature attacks. This all looks pretty great. I thought this page, though, when I first opened this, I thought it was a double page spread because it's making this like tangent here. So it almost seems as if like this, especially since it's like the same color, like the skies is the same and this blue, like it almost looks as one page. And that confused me for a minute because I was like, maybe it still is. I don't think it is though. I think there's 2 different pages. So that created like a kind of a strange thing where it threw me off of like the reading for a second. I think it might look better like without that. So then I can really focus on here because, in terms of contrast, like once you add this in, like this is creating so much contrast. Honestly, I'm almost really only just looking at this. Like this is kind of becomes like background because this is also dark and it's like the bright part. Creature looks really cool. I love like blood, violence, gore, and this definitely provides that. Here we get the other coach falling down. Arm ripped off. There is an area over here that I thought was could have used some improvement. Also, while I remember it, I think somewhere when he first meets this coach, he says something. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess he could do this, but he's like, come on, let's go. I mean, I guess he is getting pissed, but he's like, this place is so interesting. There's so many stories. And he's like, the fuck is so interesting about some fat freak? It's like, man, I don't know. That was kind of extreme. Like, I feel like this character is kind of maybe supposed to be a little bit of a jerk. But this comes off as like very snappy and like immature in a way, and also just like someone that's not going to be good under pressure or keep cool under fighting. I mean, you can always argue, yeah, but he's got growing up to do, blah, blah, blah. But like, when he does fight, I feel like he was pretty good at it. So he seems like he is good under pressure, but here he's really like, the kid's not really doing too much. I mean, he's annoyed, but he's just like, I want to hear the story. And his response, I feel like, if their level of like communicating's here, he just went like all the way to the top of like freaking out. It seems a little out of character. Okay, back over to where they're fighting. All the layout's really cool. Expressions are great. Coloring is like beautiful. I mean, like this is all really interesting. Oh yeah, I like this too. How like the sound effects will be in like her made up language. Like that's really interesting. Like I don't know, adds like another worldly feel to it where I'm like, whoa, this is really like another fantasy realm or something. What's the thing I was going to mention here? Okay, yeah. So that one coach fell like down a hill when it initially, like this second coach, falls down this hill. So they're kind of like in another location at that point because everything's happening up here. So we see them fall, and now, we're watching, up, like continuing not upstairs, I almost said up here, uphill. And so we got the fighting happening here, and like I'm aware of where we're at here. And then when we turn the page here, it just kind of goes to like this person pulling this one out of and I was just kind of, for a second, I was like, wait, where is this? Like, is this here? Like, and I was like, oh wait, I had to go back because I was like, oh yeah, this coach fell. I forgot. So to just jump from like uphill to downhill, I feel like was a little odd of a like transition choice, especially like for one single page. I think maybe if there was like a slight angle here and we got like an establishing shot, maybe we see that they're like down here and then like uphill, like we could see some of that, and like what's his name, Casimir fighting, or like part of the creature or the other coach or something, just so I kind of like reestablish like, oh yeah, they fell down there, as opposed to just kind of like already like very close in on everything and going like, wait, what, is this the coach up there uphill? And you check, you're like, oh no, that's a different color and they fell. But I don't think you want to like stop the reader like that. I like when the scenes get all red like this and he's trying to figure out how to beat this thing. Yeah, this is all really cool. Yeah, this was the stuff. I was actually on like the edge of my seat. I was like, man, this is fucking cool. This is badass. Like, I don't know. I feel like most comics, I never really get like that feeling of dread or intenseness or whatever, because it's never really does a good rise and climax, but this actually does. Yeah, I could like study some of this for a while, just looking at it all. This was really great pacing here too. You know, I can almost hear like, you know, if I'm watching a movie and then you hear like the footsteps first of, you know, the whatever. I don't know if this is a deer or something. I forgot. Horse. You know, I can almost hear that like trotting along if you're watching a movie, and then cut to it and then bam, like we're like, you know, just a small close up here. It's like great pacing to like a big like explosion like that. That worked really great. This was a little weird when he's like figuring out, you know, how to kill it. He's like, there has to be something, because this thing like keeps living and they can't kill it. And he's like, there has to be something that I can remember. And then it cuts to like, I don't know, I guess a flashback or his memory, and he's like, you're thinking too much, follow your instincts. And then it turns out his instincts were just to like stab it more. I don't know. It wasn't really like some clever solution. It was just kind of like, why isn't this thing dying? It's like, follow your instincts. Okay, I'll just stab it some more then. And then he's like, oh, the faces, hitting the faces weakens it. Which I don't know why he's saying it now after he just did it. But I guess that's like our exposition or whatever telling us like this is what he figured out. But I don't think that was a revelation. Like, the faces are weak? Wow, who would have guessed that? Why wouldn't you stab something in the eye to hurt it? Minor complaint, but... He has a flashback here. That was the other thing. I don't know. This isn't too much of a complaint here, but... So he had a cold opening in the beginning where I got the feeling that he just kind of ran away. Like this monster was here. And then he like ran away from it and lived a whole different life from there. So I feel like this was his only encounter ever with this creature. But then here he's like, I only remembered scattered bits, but I know their skin burns flesh and wood. They have oddly placed, almost human faces, and they kill by sucking the life out of their prey. So did he learn all that here? I don't know. Because unless there was like more information that he learned at some point about these creatures, he kind of like figured out like a lot about them here. Like, how does he know their flesh burns wood? They don't even really look too hot necessarily here. You know, I mean, there could be more to the backstory, so that's why it's minor complaint, but I don't like it when, you know, we are establishing stuff here, like, you know, he ran into this thing when he was a kid, and this is all we know about it. What we see here presumably is also what he saw and what he probably knows about them. So now suddenly he kind of has more information than the reader does about these creatures. So I don't know when did that happen. So maybe there's a backstory there, but I don't like it when things, you know, we should be on the same level as the character as far as knowledge and seeing things happen. So to him suddenly be ahead of us with knowledge and not seeing how he gained it, I thought doesn't really make sense. Like, when did he learn this? Again, it could be like whatever, chapter 2. We see like, oh, okay, whatever. Maybe he's got some powers or some shit. But it does kind of seem like he just has this new knowledge that he gained about him that we didn't see. Great final blow here. That stuff always looks cool when it's like in motion. Yeah, that looks crazy. I like that they like suck the life out of him. That's like a really cool thing. Yeah, I mean, the complaints I had, I feel like were very minor. And I didn't, most of the stuff like with the wording and things I was mentioning, I didn't really notice until I read it like a second time. So the first time I was mainly like sucked into the story and wasn't really paying attention, you know, with like how many ellipses or the shape of word bubbles or whatever. That's just, who cares? Like, I'm getting sucked into the story, so, you know, I would say that's an A+ on that, since I'm not really focused on anything else but like, holy shit, what's happening now? And then when it gets to here, I'm like, oh man. Well, here I was like, oh, it's already over. Yeah, that was a little weird too. Like, it says I have to know, and then it just says Fiendish to be continued in chapter 2, and then there's like more story here. Maybe this was like a stretch goal and some more story got added, but you know, I didn't really look. Like, I didn't know if maybe this is like a 2-chapter story, but you know, the turn page here, maybe it could say continued or something here. But initially, like when I turned it, I was just like, what is this? To be continued here? Where? Right here? Maybe, I don't know. There was something I was going to say, maybe just say that this is like a, oh yeah, like epilogue or something perhaps could have been written here, and then I would have been like, oh, okay, yeah, continued in chapter 2, and then epilogue. Okay. Yeah, it was kind of a strange transition. It was another really cool fight here. Yeah, that's awesome and crazy looking. Man, that's really cool. I'm curious how this is going to work, though, because this character is speaking another language, which is fine. Because as I was looking through this, I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. Like, I don't know what she's saying. Like, maybe we're not meant to know. This is also weird that this is like the first spot where there's like page numbering. Like, nowhere else there's page numbering, I don't think. And all of a sudden there's like a page number. Might be like a printer error. And then there's like a page numbering at the top here too. So these are the only ones with page numbers. But anyway, so she's like talking and I'm like, oh, maybe there's one of these things where it's irrelevant and I don't really need to know what is happening. And then there is like a translation or what do you call it, word key or something back here, alphabet. And here it does list like what she's saying. So in the future, how is this going to work? Because if she's talking to other characters and if it starts to become important, I really don't want to like flip back and forth between like these things to figure out what happened. Or if one's speaking English and then she's speaking like whatever this is. I don't know. Like, I appreciate that it's like another language and it's cool, but I'm not going to want to like kind of have forced myself to like skip around the book, and I don't know how she's going to solve that later on. And then here's just like some extras, cool sketches and shit. So I feel like I might have unfairly criticized this a little bit, but it's like such a small like fraction of the experience because everything else was like outstanding And the fact that I was just like, man, I want more of this is a really good sign that, I'll leave them wanting more. That's certainly what she did here. So if you want to pick this up, I feel like there's no reason not to, because this is only chapter 1 of probably what's going to be a really great story. I feel like however many issues it is going to go. I feel like she said before it's a very long story, so I'm definitely going to be in for the long haul on that to just kind of see how this like epic unfolds. And then I like to mention the like shipping and like customer service aspect of getting these crowdfunded books, because I feel like that's important. And she had a lot of errors with printing this that were not her fault, so I don't judge on that. And then when it came to actually getting mine, there was like a slight like confusion that happened about whether mine was shipped or what happened. And when I sent her messages about it, she responded like in a very prompt manner to it, and then resolved the issue very quickly. So anything that is in her control as far as customer service was like excellent. So I will give her like a very good rating on, like following through with things, and if there's a problem, then she fixes it. Just a brief thing I like to mention with these crowdfunding things, because some people just don't answer messages, and then it's like, hey, where's my book? And then you just never find out. So, yeah, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. There's just no reason not to buy it. It's fantastic. A+. Great work, Irene. Thanks for watching.